3 months had passed since the worst day in human history. Ambassador Daniel Harper sat alone in his small room aboard the orbital station Horizon. The room was dark. The only light came from a screen on his desk. He was watching the same video again. He had watched it maybe 100 times now. The video showed the Great Chamber of the Galactic Council. 47 alien species had gathered there. They sat in a massive circular room with seats rising up like a stadium. In the center stood Daniel himself, 3 months younger, full of hope and pride. He had come to ask for one simple thing. He wanted Earth to have a seat at the council table. The Valkyrie High Speaker had answered first. The Valkyrie were tall beings with silver skin and 4 arms. They considered themselves the oldest and wisest species in the galaxy. The High Speaker had looked down at Daniel with cold eyes. "Humanity is primitive," the High Speaker had said. "Your species has only traveled among the stars for 200 years. You have nothing to offer this council. You are children playing with tools you do not understand." The chamber had been silent for a moment. Then the laughter began. The Droshan representative laughed the loudest. The Droshan were a warrior race with thick green scales and powerful bodies. They had conquered 12 star systems before joining the council. The representative slammed his fist on his desk and called humanity weak. He said human ships were slow and human weapons were toys. One by one, the other species joined in. Some laughed. Some shook their heads. Some simply looked away, as if Daniel was not worth their attention. When the vote came, it was unanimous. 47 species voted no. Earth was denied membership. Daniel had walked out of that chamber with his head down while the fight on Walloris. Laughter followed him. Now he sat in the darkness and watched that moment again. He paused the video on the Valkyrie High Speaker's face. That look of complete contempt. That absolute certainty that humanity was nothing. Daniel turned off the screen and stood up. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the council species were going about their lives. They had already forgotten about Earth. Humanity was just a joke to them. A funny story to tell at gatherings. But Daniel knew something they did not. Earth had not been sleeping for the past 3 months. Earth had been working. 6,000 light years away, Admiral Kevin Price stood in a secure command center beneath a mountain in Colorado. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady hands. He had served in the Earth Defense Force for 40 years. He had seen many things, but he had never seen anything like the reports in front of him. "Project Quiet Thunder is ready," said a young officer beside him. "All components are in position." Kevin nodded slowly. He picked up a secure communication device and spoke into it. "This is Admiral Price. Authorization code 7-7-3-9. Activate Phase 1. He put down the device and looked at the main screen. It showed a map of human space. 13 dots were blinking in different locations. 13 ships. 13 pieces of something much larger. "The Council thinks we are primitive," Kevin said quietly. "They think we have nothing. Let them keep thinking that." For now, Captain Amy Sullivan was in deep space when she received the recall order. She commanded the exploration vessel Endeavour, a sleek ship designed for long-range missions. For the past 8 months, she had been mapping an unexplored region near the outer rim of the galaxy. A crew of 200 had found 3 new planetary systems and cataloged over 1,000 new species of plants and animals. Now, all of that was on hold. Her new orders came with the highest security classification she had ever seen. She was given coordinates that did not match any known location in her star charts. She was told to proceed immediately and ask no questions. Amy gathered her senior officers in the briefing room. Commander Derek Hayes was her second in command, a calm man with experience in tactical operations. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Monroe handled science and engineering, a brilliant woman who had graduated top of her class at the academy. "We have new orders," Amy told them. "We are changing course immediately. I cannot tell you where we are going because I do not fully know myself. What I can tell you is that this comes from the highest levels of Earth Command. This is not a drill. This is not a test. Something big is happening." Derek and Lisa exchanged looks but said nothing. They trusted their captain. They had followed her through dangerous situations before. They would follow her again. The Endeavour turned and began its journey toward the unknown coordinates. Amy stood on the bridge and watched the stars streak past. She did not know what waited for them, but she felt something in her chest. It was a feeling she had not felt in a long time. It was hope. On Earth, in a secret research facility hidden beneath the Nevada desert, Dr. Nathan Cole finally finished his work. He was a small man with messy hair and thick glasses. He had not slept in 3 days. His hands were shaking from too much coffee. But none of that mattered now. The device in front of him was complete. It was not much to look at. Just a metal frame about the size of a refrigerator with wires and circuits covering every surface. In the center sat a crystalline matrix no bigger than a human fist. The crystal glowed with a soft blue light. Nathan's assistant, a young woman named Kelly Grant, stood beside him. "Is it really going to work?" she asked. Nathan did not answer right away. He stared at the crystal and thought about the 15 years he had spent on this project. 15 years of failures. 15 years of being told it was impossible. 15 years of watching other scientists give up and walk away. "Yes," he finally said. "It is going to work. And when it does, the galaxy will never look at humanity the same way again." He reached for his communication device and sent a message to Admiral Price. The message was short. Just 2 words: "We are ready." Across the galaxy, the Valkyrie surveillance probes watched human space with mild interest. They tracked the movement of human ships and noted that several vessels seemed to be converging in an empty region of space. Their reports described the activity as unusual, but not threatening. The Valkyrie analysts read these reports and dismissed them. Human ships were slow. Human technology was basic. Whatever humanity was doing, it could not possibly matter. The Droshan Military Council received copies of the same reports. They laughed just as they had laughed in the council chamber. One general said that humanity was probably holding a funeral for their failed diplomatic mission. The others found this very funny. None of them noticed that human communication channels had gone quiet. None of them realized that for the first time in 200 years, humanity had stopped talking to the galaxy. The silence was intentional. The silence was the beginning. Ambassador Daniel Harper received a message on his personal device. It came through a channel he had not used in years. A channel reserved for only the most important communications. He read the 2 words on the screen and felt his heart beat faster. "Stay ready." Daniel looked out his window at the stars again. This time, he did not feel shame. This time, he did not feel despair. This time, he felt something else entirely. The Council had mocked Earth. They had laughed at humanity. They had called his species primitive and worthless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The Endeavour dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the coordinates Captain Amy Sullivan had been given. She stood on the bridge and looked at the main view screen. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. 12 other ships were already there. They floated in perfect formation around an empty point in space. Amy recognized some of them. The Valiant was a heavy cruiser with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The Pioneer was a science vessel like her own, equipped with the most advanced sensors humanity had ever built. The Stalwart was a carrier that held 300 fighter craft in its massive hull, but it was the largest ship that made Amy stare. She had never seen it before. It had no name painted on its hull. It was easily twice the size of any vessel she had ever encountered. Its design was unlike anything in the Earth fleet. The hull was covered with strange patterns that seemed to shift and move when she looked directly at them. "Captain," said Lisa Monroe from her station, "that ship is not in any of our databases. I have never seen that configuration before." "Neither have I," Amy admitted. "Open a channel to the fleet." The communication screen flickered and Admiral Kevin Price appeared. He was not on Earth anymore. He was aboard the unnamed vessel. "Captain Sullivan," he said, "welcome to the gathering. I know you have questions. You will have answers soon. For now, dock your ship with the Central Station and join me aboard the Prometheus." Amy raised an eyebrow. "The Prometheus, sir?" Kevin almost smiled. "That is what we are calling her. She is the key to everything. Dock and report immediately. Price out." The screen went dark. Amy turned to her bridge crew. They all had the same expression of confusion and curiosity. "You heard the Admiral. Take us in." The Endeavour moved through the formation and docked with the Prometheus. Amy walked through the connecting tunnel and stepped aboard the massive vessel. What she saw inside was even more surprising than the exterior. The corridors were wide and filled with light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The walls were smooth and white, made of a material Amy did not recognize. Crew members moved past her, but many of them wore civilian clothes instead of uniforms. Scientists, she realized. The ship was full of scientists. A young officer met her at an intersection. "Captain Sullivan?" "This way, please. The Admiral is waiting in the main assembly chamber." Amy followed him through the corridors until they reached a massive room. It was circular, with a domed ceiling that showed the stars outside through some kind of transparent material. In the center of the room stood a raised platform. On the platform sat something that made Amy stop walking. It was a crystalline structure about 3 meters tall. It glowed with a deep blue light that pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Cables and conduits connected it to the floor and ceiling. The air around it seemed to shimmer and bend in ways that hurt Amy's eyes. She looked too long. Admiral Price stood near the crystal with a small man in a white coat. The small man looked exhausted but excited. "Captain Sullivan," Kevin said as she approached. "This is Dr. Nathan Cole. He is the reason we are all here." Nathan shook Amy's hand. His grip was weak, but his eyes were bright. "What is this thing?" Amy asked, pointing at the crystal. Nathan looked at it with something like love in his eyes. "This is the resonance matrix. It took me 15 years to build. It is based on technology we found beneath the Antarctic ice in 2089. Amy frowned. "I never heard anything about a discovery in Antarctica." "No one did," Kevin said. "It was classified at the highest level. What we found there changed everything we thought we knew about physics, about the universe itself." Nathan walked closer to the crystal. "The basic principle is simple. Everything in the universe vibrates at certain frequencies. Light, matter, energy, even space itself. The resonance matrix can synchronize with those frequencies and manipulate them." Amy shook her head. "I do not understand." "What does that mean?" Nathan smiled. "It means we can do things the Council species think are impossible. Things they cannot even imagine. Let me show you something small." He touched a control panel near the crystal. The blue light pulsed faster. Amy felt a strange sensation, like the air pressure was changing. Then she looked at her hand and gasped. Her hand was transparent. She could see right through it to the floor below. She could still feel it. She could still move her fingers. But it was see-through like glass. "Do not worry," Nathan said quickly. "It is temporary. I am shifting the light frequency around your hand. Your hand is still there. It is just not reflecting light the same way. A few seconds later, Amy's hand returned to normal. She flexed her fingers and stared at them. That was a very small demonstration, Nathan continued. The resonance matrix can do much more. With enough power, it can affect light propagation across vast distances, across entire sectors of space. Kevin stepped forward. This is what Project Quiet Thunder is about. Each of the 13 ships in this formation carries a component that links to the main matrix. Together, they form the resonance array. When activated at full power, we can create effects visible across dozens of light years. Amy looked at the crystal again. She was beginning to understand. You want to show the council what we can do? No, Kevin said. We are going to show the entire galaxy. The council meets in 4 days on the station Primarch above. Lesser Prime. 47 species will be gathered in one place. They will all witness what humanity is capable of. On Earth, President Samantha Edwards sat in her private office in the White House. She was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes. She had been president for 6 years. She had faced many crises, but nothing like this. Her chief of staff, a man named Greg Patterson, sat across from her. The fleet is in position, he reported. Admiral Price confirms all systems are operational. We are ready to proceed on your command. Samantha stared at the wall. There was a photograph there showing Earth from space. A small blue dot in an endless darkness. The council thinks we are nothing, she said quietly. They laughed at our ambassador. They rejected our request for membership like we were insects asking to join a meeting of giants. Yes, ma'am. But we are not insects. We never were. We just let them believe what they wanted to believe. She turned to face Greg. The discovery in Antarctica. The years of secret research. The technology we developed in the shadows. All of it was leading to this moment. Are you sure about this, ma'am? Once we reveal what we have, there is no going back. The council might see us as a threat. Samantha smiled. It was not a happy smile. Let them. I would rather be feared than laughed at. I would rather be respected than ignored. Humanity deserves a seat at that table. We are going to take it. She picked up a secure phone and dialed a number. Admiral Price answered on the second ring. Admiral, this is the President. You have full authorization to proceed with Phase 2. Show them what we can do. Understood, ma'am. Initiating Phase 2 in 72 hours. Samantha hung up the phone and looked at the photograph of Earth again. 3 days, she whispered. In 3 days, everything changes. Back aboard the Prometheus, Captain Amy Sullivan stood with Commander Derek Hayes and Lieutenant Commander Lisa Monroe. They had been fully briefed on the mission. They understood what they were about to do. This is incredible, Lisa said. The science behind this matrix is revolutionary. It will take decades for the rest of the galaxy to catch up. If they ever do, Derek added, the technology we found was not built by humans. Where did it come from? Amy shook her head. Does it matter? What matters is that we have it. And we are going to use it. She looked out a viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, 47 species were preparing for their council meeting. They had no idea what was coming. They still thought humanity was a joke. Amy felt a smile form on her face. The council was about to learn a valuable lesson. Silence did not mean weakness. Sometimes silence meant you were preparing something so big that words were not enough. In 3 days, humanity would answer the council's mockery. Not with speeches, not with arguments, not with pleas for acceptance. They would answer without words, and the entire galaxy would listen. The Galactic Council chamber on Station Primarch was full. Every seat was taken. Representatives from 47 species had gathered for the quarterly summit. It was the largest and most important meeting in galactic politics. Wars were ended here. Treaties were signed here. The future of entire civilizations was decided here. The Valkyrie High Speaker stood at the central podium. His silver skin gleamed under the bright lights. His forearms were spread wide in a gesture of welcome. "Fellow council members," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast room. "We gather once again to guide the galaxy toward prosperity and peace. There is much to discuss. Trade agreements, border disputes, the expansion of our collective influence into new territories." In the upper rows, the Droshan delegation sat with arms crossed. Their leader, General Krath, had a permanent scowl on his scale face. He was bored by diplomatic talk. He preferred action. The Dasari delegation sat near the front. They were an ancient species, thin and fragile-looking with pale purple skin. But their eyes held centuries of wisdom. Elder Counselor Mira Thel was the oldest living Dasari. She had seen the council form. She had witnessed its growth from a handful of species to the massive organization it was today. Very little surprised her anymore, but something was about to across the galaxy. Aboard the Prometheus, Admiral Kevin Price stood before the resonance matrix. The crystal pulsed with energy. The air hummed with power. "All ships report ready," said Captain Amy Sullivan from her position on the bridge of the Endeavor. Her voice came through clearly on the communication system. "Power levels are optimal," Dr. Nathan Cole added. He was sweating despite the cool temperature. 15 years of work had come down to this moment. "The matrix is stable. We can proceed." Kevin took a deep breath. He thought about the council chamber. He thought about the laughter that had echoed through it 3 months ago. He thought about Ambassador Daniel Harper's face when he returned from that meeting, destroyed by humiliation. "Begin the sequence," Kevin ordered. Nathan's fingers moved across the control panel. The matrix began to glow brighter. The hum in the air grew louder. On the view screen, the 12 other ships in formation began to light up as their components. Synchronized with the main crystal dot, the energy built and built. Nathan watched the readings on his screen climb higher than they had ever gone before. This was beyond any test they had run. This was the real thing. 30 seconds to full resonance, Nathan announced. His voice was shaking. On board the Endeavor, Lisa Monroe watched her sensors with wide eyes. "The energy output is incredible. I am reading fluctuations in the local space-time fabric." "Hold position," Amy ordered. "Stay in formation." 10 seconds, Nathan counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He pressed the final command dot in the council chamber on Primarch Station. The Valkyrie High Speaker was in the middle of a speech about mining rights when the stars flickered. It happened without warning. Every star visible through the massive windows of the chamber dimmed. They did not go out completely. They just became fainter, like someone had turned down a light. The effect lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then the stars returned to normal. The chamber exploded into chaos. Delegates jumped to their feet. Screens and communication devices activated everywhere. Alarms began blaring throughout the station. The Droshan general grabbed his weapon, looking around for an enemy that was not there. What was that? Someone shouted. Sensor malfunction? Another voice suggested but Elder Mirathel knew better. She had lived too long to dismiss something so strange. She activated her personal communicator and spoke to her ship in orbit. Report. What did your sensors show? The response came back immediately, and it made her blood run cold. Elder, the effect was not local. We are receiving reports from across the sector. The same phenomenon was observed on 17 different worlds. Stars dimmed for 3 seconds across a radius of 40 light years. 40 light years. That was impossible. No known technology could affect light propagation across such a distance. The energy required would be beyond anything the council had ever imagined. The Valkyrie high speaker managed to restore some order. He pounded his ceremonial staff on the podium until the noise died down. Everyone, remain calm. Our science division will investigate this anomaly. I am sure there is a natural explanation. But even as he spoke, his voice wavered. He did not believe his own words. Then a door at the back of the chamber opened. Every head turned to look. Ambassador Daniel Harper walked in. He had not been invited to this summit. Earth had no seat at the council. He should not have been there at all. Yet there he was, walking calmly through the middle of the chamber toward the central podium. 2 Valkyrie guards moved to stop him. Daniel did not slow down. He did not speak. He simply reached into his pocket and held up a small device. A holographic symbol appeared above it. The guards recognized it immediately. It was a diplomatic immunity seal, the kind that could only be granted by the council itself. They stepped aside. Daniel reached the podium. The high speaker stared at him with a mixture of anger and confusion. You have no right to be here, the high speaker said. Earth was denied membership. You have no voice in this chamber. Daniel said nothing. He placed a small projector on the podium and activated it. A holographic image appeared above the chamber. It showed Earth, the small blue planet that the council had dismissed as primitive. But around Earth, there was something new. A faint shimmer surrounded the planet, a web of energy that pulsed with a soft blue light. What is that? General Krath demanded. Daniel still did not speak. The image zoomed out to show the 13 human ships in formation. Then it showed data readouts, energy signatures, spatial distortion measurements. The exact moment when the stars had dimmed. The meaning was clear without any words. Humanity had done this. Humanity had reached across 40 light-years of space and touched the very light of the stars. Humanity had technology the council did not understand and could not match. The chamber was completely silent. Elder Mirathel rose from her seat. She walked slowly down the steps toward the podium, her ancient body moving with careful dignity. She stopped a few meters from Daniel and studied his face. Your species did this, she said. It was not a question. Daniel nodded once. How is this possible? Daniel finally spoke. His voice was calm and steady. You told us we were primitive. You said we had nothing to offer. You laughed at us and sent us away. So we decided to show you instead of tell you. He gestured at the holographic image. This is the resonance array. It was built from technology you do not possess. Technology you cannot replicate. We did not come here to threaten you. We came to demonstrate that your assessment of humanity was wrong. The Valkyrie High Speaker found his voice. This is a provocation. You manipulated starlight across 40 light-years just to make a point. Yes, Daniel said simply. We did. Because you would not listen to our words. Now you are listening. On the Prometheus, Admiral Kevin Price watched the council chamber through a secure transmission. He saw the shocked faces of the alien delegates. He saw the fear in their eyes. After decades of being dismissed and ignored, humanity finally had their attention. Phase 3 complete, he said quietly. Now we wait. Dr. Nathan Cole slumped in his chair, exhausted but triumphant. The Matrix was cooling down now. They could not repeat the demonstration. The energy requirements were too great, and the strain on the equipment was enormous. But they did not need to repeat it. Once was enough. Do you think they will vote to admit us now? Asked Kelly Grant, his assistant. Nathan looked at the readouts on his screen. The data from the council station showed widespread panic and confusion. 47 species had just witnessed something impossible. They do not have a choice anymore, he said. They cannot ignore us. They cannot pretend we are primitives. The whole galaxy just saw what we can do." In the council chamber, Elder Myrathel turned to face the assembled delegates. Her voice was thin with age but filled with authority. "The council owes humanity an apology," she said. "We judged them without understanding them. We mocked them without knowing what they were capable of. This was arrogance. This was foolishness." The Volcari High Speaker opened his mouth to argue, but Thel silenced him with a look. "The vote 3 months ago was a mistake. I move that we reconsider Earth's application for membership." Immediately, the chamber erupted into noise again. Some delegates shouted in agreement. Others protested loudly. The Droshan general looked like he wanted to start a war right then and there. But through it all, Ambassador Daniel Harper stood at the podium in silence. He had delivered his message. Now the council would have to decide how to respond. Humanity had spoken without words. The answer was in the stars themselves. The council chamber had descended into chaos. Delegates shouted at each other across the vast room. Some demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others called for calm and negotiation. A few simply stared at the holographic image of the resonance array still floating above the podium. Unable to process what they had witnessed, the Valkyrie High Speaker slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor again and again. "Order! The council will have order." Slowly, the noise died down, but the tension remained. It filled the air like electricity before a storm. General Krath of the Droshan pushed through the crowd until he stood directly in front of Ambassador Daniel Harper. The general was twice Daniel's size, with muscles that could crush a human skull with one hand. His scales were dark green, almost black, and his eyes burned with anger. "You dare come here and threaten us?" Krath growled. "You show off some light trick and expect us to be impressed?" Daniel met the general's stare without flinching. It was not a threat. It was a demonstration. "The same thing," Krath spat. "Your species shows us that you can manipulate starlight. So what? Can you stop a Droshan battle fleet? Can you defend your little planet against the combined might of the council?" Daniel said nothing. "I thought not." Krath turned to address the chamber. "This changes nothing. Humanity is still weak. They have one trick, one device. If we destroy it, they have nothing. I say we teach these primitives a lesson they will never forget." Several Droshan delegates roared in agreement. Other warrior species joined in. The mood in the chamber shifted toward violence. Then a new holographic transmission activated above the chamber. Admiral Kevin Price appeared, standing on the bridge of the Prometheus. His image was large enough for everyone to see clearly. "General Krath," Kevin said, his voice calm and steady. "I am Admiral Kevin Price of the Earth Defense Force. I have heard your threats. I would like to offer a response." Krath laughed. "Another human who thinks he can intimidate us. Go ahead, old man. Say your piece." Kevin nodded slowly. "I will keep this brief. 4 sentences." He paused to make sure the entire chamber was listening. "First, humanity has developed technologies the Council does not understand. Second, humanity has no interest in war. Third, humanity requests nothing from this Council. Fourth, humanity only wanted you to know what you had underestimated." He let the words hang in the air for a moment. "That is all. That is all. Price out." The transmission ended. The chamber was silent. Krath opened his mouth to speak, but Elder Myrathel interrupted him. "Did you hear what he said, General? Humanity requests nothing. They are not here to make demands. They are not here to threaten. They came only to show us what they can do." "And that makes it better?" Krath demanded. "They humiliated the Council in front of the entire galaxy." Myrathel shook her head slowly. "No, General. The Council humiliated itself 3 months ago when we laughed at their ambassador. We treated them like insects. We denied them basic respect. What did we expect them to do? The Valkyrie High Speaker stepped forward. Regardless of the past, we must deal with the present. The question before us is simple. What do we do about humanity now? Attack them, Krath said immediately. Destroy their fleet. Occupy their planet. Show the galaxy that no species defies the Council. A Dazari delegate named Councillor Varn spoke up. And if we attack and fail? If their technology is as advanced as it appears, we could lose ships. We could lose worlds. The Council's reputation could be damaged beyond repair. The Droshan do not fear defeat, Krath said proudly. Perhaps you should, Myrathel replied. Pride has destroyed many civilizations, General. On board the Endeavour, Captain Amy Sullivan monitored the situation through intercepted communications. She could hear the debate happening in the Council chamber. She could see Droshan warships beginning to power up their weapons. Captain, said Lieutenant Commander Lisa Monroe, the Droshan fleet is moving into attack formation. 12 heavy cruisers and 30 support vessels. Amy looked at her tactical display. The human fleet was vastly outnumbered. If the Droshan attacked, it would be a massacre. Orders from Admiral Price? She asked. Commander Derek Hayes checked his console. Hold position. Do not raise shields. Do not arm weapons. Amy stared at him. We are just going to sit here. Those are the orders, Captain. Amy gripped the arms of her command chair. Every instinct told her to prepare for battle. Every training exercise she had ever run screamed at her to defend her ship. But she trusted Kevin Price. She had served under him for 15 years. He knew what he was doing. At least, she hoped he did. In the Council chamber, the Valkyrie High Speaker called for a recess. Delegates retreated to their private rooms to consult with their governments. For 3 hours, the fate of humanity hung in the balance. General Krath contacted the Droshan homeworld and received authorization to engage the human fleet. His ships were ready. His crews were eager. All he needed was an excuse. But as he prepared to give the order, a message arrived from an unexpected source. The Dazari government had issued a formal statement. If the Droshan attacked humanity, the Dazari would withdraw from the Council entirely. Krath read the message twice, unable to believe it. The Dazari were one of the founding members of the Council. Their wisdom and guidance had shaped galactic civilization for millennia. Without them, the Council would lose its moral authority. This is a bluff, Krath told his aides. But his aides were not so sure. The Dazari never bluffed. They said what they meant, and they meant what they said. Always. One by one, other species began issuing similar statements. The Malvari, known for their art and culture, threatened economic sanctions against any species that attacked Earth. The Foreign, a peaceful agricultural society, announced they would open trade negotiations with humanity, regardless of the Council's decision. The momentum was shifting. Ambassador Daniel Harper sat in a small waiting room near the Council chamber. He had not eaten in hours. He had barely slept in days. But he felt more alive than he had in years. A door opened, and Elder Myrathel entered. She moved slowly, leaning on a cane, but her eyes were sharp and clear. May I sit? She asked. Daniel gestured to a chair across from him. Of course. Thel lowered herself carefully into the seat. For a long moment, she simply studied Daniel's face, as if trying to read his thoughts. Your species is remarkable, she finally said. In 300 years, I have never seen anything like what happened today. Thank you, Daniel said cautiously. I am not finished. Thel held up a thin hand. What you did was also dangerous. You showed the galaxy a weapon no one knew existed. Some species will fear you now. Some will want to destroy you before you become too powerful. Daniel nodded. We know. but we had no choice. You would not listen to us any other way. Thal smiled slightly. It was a sad smile, full of regret. You are right. We would not. The Council has become arrogant over the centuries. We believe we know everything. We believe we have seen everything. Today, we learned that we were wrong. She leaned forward. Tell me honestly, Ambassador, what does humanity want? Daniel thought about the question. He thought about Earth, about the billions of people hoping for a better future among the stars. He thought about his family, his friends, the generations yet to come. We want what every species wants, he said. We want to explore. We want to learn. We want to grow. And we want to do it as equals, not as inferiors. We want a seat at the table. Thel nodded slowly. Then I will do what I can to give you one. She stood and walked toward the door. Before she left, she turned back one last time. The vote will happen within the hour. I cannot promise the outcome, but I can promise that your message was received. The Council will never mock Earth again. Daniel watched her go. Then he closed his eyes and allowed himself a moment of hope. In space, the Droshan fleet remained in attack formation. But General Krath had received new orders from his government. Do not engage. Wait for the council vote. The general was furious, but he obeyed. He had no choice. Politics had tied his hands. Captain Amy Sullivan let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. The Droshan are standing down, Lisa Monroe reported. Amy looked at the tactical display. The enemy ships were still there, weapons still powered. But they were not attacking. For now, that was enough. Maintain position, she ordered. Stay alert. This is not over yet. No, it was not over. The vote was still to come, and the entire galaxy was watching. The council chamber filled again. Every delegate had returned to their seat. The noise had quieted to a tense murmur. The time for debate was over. Now came the moment of decision. Ambassador Daniel Harper stood at the edge of the chamber, watching. He was not allowed on the floor during official votes. He was still not a member. That would change in the next few minutes. Or it would not change at all. The Valkyrie High Speaker took his position at the central podium. His face was unreadable. Whatever personal feelings he had, he hid them behind centuries of diplomatic training. The council will now vote on the motion proposed by Elder Myra Thel of the Dasari delegation, he announced. The motion is to reconsider Earth's application for provisional membership in the Galactic Council. Each species will cast one vote. A simple majority is required for passage. He activated the voting system. Holographic displays appeared in front of each delegate, showing 3 options: yes, no, abstain. The vote will proceed in alphabetical order by species name. Arcany delegation, you may vote first. A tall, thin being with iridescent feathers pressed a button. A green light appeared above their seat. Yes. The process continued. Species after species cast their votes. Some voted quickly, without hesitation. Others paused, consulted briefly with their aides, then made their choice. Daniel watched the count on a screen near his position. The numbers climbed slowly. Yes, no, abstain. Yes, yes, no. The Droshan delegation voted no with obvious anger. General Krath slammed his fist on his voting panel so hard it cracked. But a cracked panel did not change the result. 1 vote against. The Valkyrie delegation abstained. The High Speaker entered the vote himself, his face showing nothing. Daniel understood. The Valkyrie were too proud to vote yes. They could not admit they had been wrong about humanity. But they were also too smart to vote no when so many others were voting yes. Abstaining was their compromise. The count continued. The Malvari voted yes. The Foreign voted yes. The Lazari voted yes, of course. By the time the voting reached the final species, the result was clear. But the High Speaker read the official tally anyway. The vote is complete. 39 species have voted yes. 7 species have voted no. 1 species has abstained. He paused and looked directly at Daniel. Earth's application for provisional membership has been approved. A wave of murmuring swept through the chamber. Some delegates looked pleased. Others looked unhappy. General Krath stood up and stormed out without a word, his scales flushing dark with rage. But none of that mattered to Daniel. The only thing that mattered was the word provisional. Earth was in. After 3 months of humiliation, after years of being ignored, humanity finally had a voice in the Galactic Council. He felt his eyes grow wet and quickly wiped them. There would be time for emotion later. Right now, he had work to do. Aboard the Prometheus, Admiral Kevin Price received the news through a secure channel. He let out a long breath and allowed himself a small smile. "We did it," Dr. Nathan Cole said beside him. His voice was barely a whisper, as if he could not quite believe it himself. "Not we," Kevin corrected. "You. None of this would have happened without your work, Nathan. 15 years. You gave humanity 15 years of your life. That sacrifice will never be forgotten." Nathan looked at the resonance matrix. The crystal had gone dim now, its energy spent. They could not use it again for months, maybe years. The strain had been too great. "It was worth it," Nathan said softly. "Every missed dinner, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt. All of it was worth it." Kevin nodded. Then he activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Price. The vote is complete. Earth has been granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. Our mission here is accomplished. Begin deactivation of the resonance array and prepare for the journey home." On the Endeavor, Captain Amy Sullivan heard the announcement and felt her heart swell with pride. She looked around her bridge at her crew, at Derek Hayes and Lisa Monroe, and all the others who had served faithfully. "We did something today," she said to them. "Something that will be remembered for generations. Our children and their children will learn about this moment. They will know that humanity earned its place among the stars." Lisa Monroe wiped her eyes. Derek Hayes stood a little straighter. The entire bridge crew seemed to glow with shared triumph. "Set course for Earth," Amy ordered. "Take us home." On Earth, President Samantha Edwards addressed the world. Every screen on the planet showed her face. Every speaker carried her voice. "My fellow humans," she said, "today we achieved something many thought impossible. We have been accepted into the Galactic Council, not because we begged, not because we threatened, but because we proved ourselves. We showed the galaxy that we are not primitives. We are not children. We are a species capable of wonders." She paused to let the words sink in. This is just the beginning. Provisional membership is only the first step. We must work hard, demonstrate our values, and earn full membership through our actions. But today, we celebrate. Today, we stand proud. Today, humanity has a voice among the stars. Across the world, people cheered. In cities and villages, in homes and workplaces, billions of humans celebrated together. They had been united by a common challenge and emerged victorious. In the council chamber on Primarch Station, a ceremony was held to formally welcome Earth's delegation. Ambassador Daniel Harper took his seat among the other representatives for the first time. No one laughed. No one mocked. The chamber was quieter than it had ever been. Elder Myrithel approached him after the ceremony. She moved slowly, supported by her cane, but her eyes sparkled with warmth. "How does it feel?" she asked. Daniel considered the question. "Strange," he admitted. For so long this seemed impossible. Now that it has happened, I do not quite know what to do. Thel nodded with understanding. That feeling will pass. You will find your footing. Your species is resilient. That much is clear. She sat down in a chair beside him. Around them, the chamber was emptying as delegates departed for their ships. I must ask you something, Thel said. Something I did not want to ask in front of the others. Daniel turned to face her. Go ahead. What does humanity truly want from the Council? Not the official answer. The real one. Daniel thought about it. He thought about Earth's history, about the wars and struggles, about the dreams of exploring the stars that had driven humanity for centuries. We want what every species wants, he said finally. We want to explore, to learn, to discover new worlds and new ideas. We want to grow and improve and become better than we are today. And we want to do it together with other species who respect us as equals. Thel studied his face for a long moment. Then she smiled. That is a good answer, she said. A true answer. I believe humanity will do well in the Council. You have much to teach us, I think. And perhaps we have something to teach you as well. Daniel smiled back. I hope so. Admiral Kevin Price retired from active duty 1 month later. His final mission had been a success. Humanity was secure among the stars. There was nothing more for him to do. He spent his retirement in a small house overlooking the ocean. Sometimes, Dr. Nathan Cole came to visit, and they would sit on the porch and watch the waves together. They rarely spoke about the mission. They did not need to. They both knew what they had accomplished. Captain Amy Sullivan received a promotion and a new command. She was given the first human deep space exploration mission since Earth joined the Council. Her orders were simple. Go further than any human had ever gone before. Find new worlds. Make new discoveries. Represent humanity well. She accepted the mission without hesitation. President Samantha Edwards served 2 more years in office. When she left the presidency, she was remembered as the leader who had guided humanity to the stars. Statues were built in her honor. Schools were named after her. But she always said the real heroes were the scientists and soldiers who had made it possible. Ambassador Daniel Harper remained on the Council for 20 years. He watched humanity grow from a provisional member to a full member. He saw Earth's influence spread across dozens of star systems. He witnessed the formation of new alliances and the creation of new opportunities. And sometimes, late at night, he would look up at the stars and remember that moment in the Council chamber. The moment when the stars flickered. The moment when the galaxy realized that humanity was not a joke. The Council had mocked Earth. They had laughed at humanity. They had called them primitive and worthless, but humanity had answered without words, and the galaxy had listened. It always would.